And welcome to the Backstage Antique Appraisal Show. This show is being produced on location at the historical Riverside Town Hall. The antique appraisers on this program are from Arcade Antiques, Forget Me Not, and Flowers by Gall. Let's get started with our first appraisal now.
Okay, we have a little Jerry Mahoney dowel, which was brought in by Charlotte, and the dowel is in really good condition. Not mint, of course, but pretty darn close to mint condition. It's missing its little bow tie. It's still working. It's clean. It's got the original Paul Winchell's box. I think Paul's dead now, isn't he? Did he die?
He did.
Yeah, Paul's dead. But Jerry's still here, and we're guessing the value on this one, and it's really a guess because it all depends on the collector who wants it. And this one's in pretty good condition. I'm thinking $250. You thought a little less, but I thought $250 was a roundabout good figure. But on an auction block, if you have a lot of people there and they're really fighting for this dowel, it could go beyond that.
Well, the fact that it has the boxes.
Yeah, and the original box, which for some reason everybody thinks the original box.
Yeah.
So, and if he ever dies, you can bury him in this box. I like him. Okay, we have Noreen here this evening. Noreen's showing us a little pipe that she has, we believe, from Austria. It's a three-piece porcelain number. It seems to be signed by Meissen. Did you see that in the corner? But
yeah,
I can't tell because it's dirty. But it's a great little pipe. It's got some hairline cracks. I don't know, it seems to be all hand-painted, don't you think? Mm-hmm. It's not a transfer, it's all hand-painting on there. Value-wise, what would you guesstimate?
In the condition that it is, probably 150.
You think 150?
Yeah, I agree with that, yeah.
I would say similar, but the only problem is it's got this big crack in there, so if it's a real...
Well, the beauty of it is you can always exchange this part and get a plain one. The beauty is the Meissen bowl.
Yeah.
Right, and the painting on it is wonderful.
The bowl is in excellent condition. Bob has brought us a beautiful hunting case watch, which was his father's. It's an Elgin, it's a size 16. It's in pristine condition. Bob didn't know that it was in a drawer for so long. It's 14 karat gold filled. I couldn't open up the back to get the serial number to get the exact date. It has the original crystal and it is in excellent condition. His daddy's initials are engraved on it, JJ. Mm-hmm. It has a rose gold colored gold-filled snake chain, which is really for keys, but it'll fill the bill because somebody could tie it onto their side. Mm-hmm. I estimated the value of the watch at $350 and the chain at about between $50 and $75.
Mm-hmm. With a chain, yeah.
It's a beautiful watch.
It's a very attractive watch, Bob. Thank you for bringing it.
In good condition.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim has brought us a beautiful mantle clock made by Royal Bond in Germany. It's hand-painted porcelain. It's an 8-day clock which strikes on the hour and the half, and I can't see the front of it, but I know it's nice.
It's striking as we speak.
As we speak, it's striking. Royal Bond made beautiful vases and clock cases and everything. It has the beautiful flowers. It's got 24 karat gold, and it's the open rose pattern. And the entire movement is brass. The the movement on the escapement on the outside is brass. The
and it's
dial.
Open escapement. It's an open escapement.
Open escapement.
Which really is everybody seems to want more than your regular face clocks, but a beautiful, beautiful case in great condition, perfect.
Perfect.
I mean, did they ever use it?
It's been on the mantle for an awful long
Really?
time.
No kidding.
At one point it was running.
In great condition. Mm-hmm. Our consensus was?
Between $750 and $1,250.
Great.
Easily. Nice
Beautiful.
piece.
Thank you.
Gorgeous,
Great
gorgeous
condition.
piece.
Thank you very much.
Condition. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You can put that in my car, Jim.
Right now, right?
Edna has come in this evening and brought us this beautiful engraving that has some local history behind it, I believe.
Yes. I got it from my neighbor who is blind, and I took care of her. And after she passed away, her son brought this over and said his mother wanted me to have it.
Will you tell us who the neighbor was?
Mrs. Kirshner, Claude Kirshner's mother she was on Super Circus.
Claude Kirshner was on the airwaves in Chicago in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and this was his mother's. Mrs. Kirshner lived on Quincy Street in Riverside. This is from 1867. The frame is veneered walnut. It's in excellent condition. It has a museum mount on the manting, which has got cloth in it, so that's why it's lasted so long, and it's well protected. It has a new cover on the back. Greg, what do you think this is?
Well, we had previously decided somewhere like 350 to 4 is what we were thinking. But you, I think, were higher on it.
I was
than we
higher.
were. I know. But, that's,
I said 650,
well, the only reason
and
I
they
based
shot
that-
me down.
Well, because the frame is in such bad condition. I mean, along the base, all the veneers popped off, and I don't like the matting and all. It's a new matting. I didn't like it. I didn't think it looked good. But that was just, I mean, these are minor, but I thought 350. But so you're in the ballpark
We're in
between
the ballpark.
350
This
and
is the
5.
message that I was found, only it was in German, and I had to translate it.
Translated on the back. You want to read?
Oh, basically what this tells you is of what she thought the subject matter was. And this looks like almost a large book plate, but I just think it's too large for that, don't you think?
Yes. And I think it was just...
It's just done as an engraving, but it almost looks like a book plate.
Thank you, Edna,
Thank
for
you.
bringing this.
Okay.
Let's take a break from our antique appraising and meet with our first antique appraiser, Kathleen Snyder from Arcade Antiques.
My mother always had beautiful things. She collected French, and she had a lot of Dresden and French furniture, and I thought everybody had nice things, and then when I was out to see other people's houses, they didn't have what my mother had, so she really trained us into it, my brother and I. Everything is mass-produced today, and you'll never see the quality of what was made many years ago again. I enjoy antiques because you can see the beauty of things that were made in the scarcity, the lack of availability, and it's something that is a part of history. I did a bird screen from 1840 that was African hummingbirds, and it was brought in from Colorado, and we had it in the store for a while, and it was purchased by a connoisseur, and it had 35 rare and extinct birds in the case. It was all glass case and carved rosewood, and it stood about 4 feet tall, and the person purchased it and then later on donated to the Avery section of the Brookfield Zoo, and it's on display there. Somebody asked me about the porcelain enamel potties, like hospital pans, and I thought that was kind of nuts. But I collect camels. I have 240 camels in my collection. Wow. I have camel lamps, camel statues, and I have bronze, pot metal, fine porcelain. I love camels. I think I must have been an Arab in a former life or something. I have a lot of Arabian things in my collection and Oriental rugs. Dolls are making a resurgence again, and people love dolls. And little girls for all ages, from 3 to 90. The best thing right now are lamps of panel stained and what have you, because they're becoming very scarce to find original ones. I am paying now, 3 years ago, what I sold them for. That's what I'm paying now to get authentic lamps and to find the lamps. Sue has brought one of a pair of boudoir lamps, which are silver plated and have caramel slag glass in it and 4 panels. It has the filigree top. They're quite heavy because being boudoir lamps, if they weren't, they would, fly all over. This was probably done between 1915 and 1935. They're in excellent condition. The original plug is still there, however, do not plug them in. The top is vented for the light bulb. Do not put in over a 15-watt bulb in there. It has the original harp. It's all original. The pair would be worth between $850 and $1,000. One would, if she had one, it would be $350 to $450. But the fact that she has a pair is very, very good.
That's in great condition because all the patina is really still intact, good condition.
The silver plate has been lacquered, that's why it's in that good
But I mean,
condition.
the wear, I mean, over the
Factory,
years, hasn't all been worn off.
Yeah.
It's in great
No, it
shape.
wouldn't harm the value for her to replace the
No.
wiring so that she could use
Because you
it.
said don't
Right.
don't plug it in.
Right,
Well, she
don't
might
plug it
get
in the way it is
electrocuted if
now.
there's a short and that's metal, and
They-
you wouldn't be
now
lighting in
they
the
even
bathtub or
have,
anything.
I think
wiring
I
that
have
looks
plugged them
like
in
this.
before.
Don't,
Take
not
it when
with
you're
that
taking a
wiring.
shower. Where did you acquire these? Curiously.
Actually, my great aunt, I acquired her when she passed. I'm not really sure where she got them. I know she used to keep them on her grand piano. So, well, thank
Very
you.
nice.
One is good, but whenever you have a pair of anything, that's super.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
850 to a
1,000.
1,000. Okay, great. Thank you.
But we'll give you $10.
Bernice has brought in her father's, what was your father's
Right, my
violin?
father's.
It's a 3/4 violin made in Germany. It was repaired in 1928. We probably think there's an old glue job along these lines. It's been well used and well worn. It did come with its case and its original bowl. In its current condition, I think we agreed that it would be worth about $75 today.
Hi, this evening Marion has brought with a little, what they called a piano baby, which originally sat on Victorian pianos as a little ornament, but unfortunately this piano baby is not an old piano baby. This is a reproduction that we've kind of decided was somewhere vintage 1970. Part of the reasoning is, if you look in the center hole here, the plaster is perfectly white, no aging whatsoever. The overshooting of the spray paint, which is just a factory spray paint job. What kind of eyes did you call these?
Doe eyes from the
Little
70s.
doe eyes with the little mascara, which is kind of like that preacher's wife. What was her name?
Tammy Faye.
No, Tammy Faye. Kind of has a, maybe it could be a young Tammy Faye doll. I don't know. But it isn't that old. It's hard for me to give an appraisal value because it's just a new piece, a new chalkware piece. I mean, it's nice to look at, but value-wise, I don't consider it anything. But, I mean, what do you think?
Probably $30.
Really?
30, 35, yeah.
It's a used piano baby item.
Okay.
$30.
But it's very appealing. Nancy has brought us a beautiful 14-karat white gold with a 20-point diamond stick pin that she's going to explain how she acquired it and allegedly who owned it.
My great uncle was a police chief of a neighboring community, and he did a favor for Al Capone. He turned his head the other way, so in return Al gave him the stick pin. And my grandmother lent my great uncle some money, so instead of paying her back with cash, he gave her the stick pin, and that's how it was passed down to me.
Thank you. That's a really great story. We evaluated the pin, which was probably made about 1900 to 1910. And the pin is probably worth between $200 and $300. It's in very good condition. Thank you for bringing it, Nancy.
You're welcome.
Pretty piece.
Thank you.
We have Ruth with us this evening, and she's brought a little perfume display, I guess. I don't know what else you'd call this. But you can explain where it came from and how you acquired it, and then we'll go from there.
I bought it about 10 years ago in Plattsburgh, Missouri, and I was told that a 90-year-old lady had brought it in, and she received it as a gift when she owned one of the most popular houses in Kansas City.
Obviously, she had no taste in perfume, so hopefully she made money other ways. But anyway, we looked at this piece. I love when they tell you it belonged to a 90-year-old lady. Most likely, she bought this piece 2 or 3 days before she died at 90. It's not an old piece at all.
Okay.
I've looked at it over and over again, and it's like cheap spelterware metal with a base coating, and you can even see the coating of gold tone or brass tone is coming off on the handles. It looks exotic because it's got all this filigree and the little glass on the front, but it really is not that old. I wouldn't even know where the manufacturer would be. It might be India, I'm not sure. But it isn't an old piece and doesn't have a great amount of value. Did you pay a lot for it?
60.
60?
That's what we guestimated.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what
probably about, they're
It's
showing up a
probably
a
lot.
curiosity
from the
item.
60s.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
you would have to find the person that really wanted to own this bad.
These are
get
showing
the
up a
60.
lot, though, at antique shows around
But I loved
the
it,
country. And it is an attractive piece to have sitting on your boudoir table.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Ruth. Thanks.
I hope you're enjoying the Backstage Antique Appraisal Show. Let's take time to meet with our second appraiser, Don Chroma from Forget Me Not.
Well, I've been collecting for more than 21 years, and I've been selling as a result of that for about 19 years. Well, I collected my first antique, which was my husband 21 years ago, and he got me involved. It's interesting, and the history on the pieces, I really enjoy looking them up, learning about them. The background, the romance, you know, what life might have been then, that sort of thing. And then, like I said, the people that I meet, there's nothing but good people in this business. They brought me the urn and felt that it was something they didn't know who owned it or who was in it. They just thought it was a nice decorative urn, and it was pretty strange. They didn't open it up. They didn't apparently realize that it opened up. It was a beautiful bronze urn, and they brought it in and asked me to appraise it. Unfortunately, I knew what it was right away. I was doing an estate sale for this family, and it was in a closet on a top shelf, and nobody really knew anything about it. They didn't know it was still there. They hadn't realized that Uncle Ernie had been stuck in the closet all these years. And so they had to go back and find out what it was, you know, who it was, I should say, before it meant a great deal to them. And even then they were like, well, what's the value of the urn? What I find sells the best for me is Victorian items, whether it's china or jewelry or things from that time frame. People seem to be collecting a lot of. And second to that would be nostalgia, things from our own childhoods, from the baby boomers' childhoods.
Joe's brought molds for lead soldiers and different lead pieces which everybody and their brother seems to desire and want. People are always coming into the stores asking, do you have any lead soldiers? Do you have any lead figurines? The soldiers on this particular mold are from World War I, which was the heyday of people making lead figurines. Joe also has the mold and some lead that would be used to make these things and to stamp them out. One of the points of interest Greg will tell you about is Buck Rogers.
Oh, this one here is actually it's a nice little stamp and it says Buck Rogers right on it. It's a what does it say, 25th century set? I can't see it. And well, it joins like this. You would pour the lead in from the top. The lead would escape from the bottom, the excess lead, and you'd have, well, 3 figures on every mold. Value, we thought, per mold, correct? Mm-hmm. We were trying, especially Buck Rogers. I don't know if you value these as high, but I think Buck Rogers, we decided like $250.
Yes.
So around $250 for this one.
Wow.
Only because people could go out scampering and making little forgeries, so that's a good deal. You know? And they could, I mean, how could you tell? But this one, unfortunately, is really damaged. Apparently, maybe
lead was too hot.
Yeah, I think, well, either that or the kid who was trying to get it out decided to hit it with a screwdriver.
Yeah.
And it's damaged, so it's kind of, it's really half a mold, so it's almost worthless to me, but it still has some value, but I don't consider it because it's too damaged. But that's like $250, and you're saying the same for that World War I?
The World War I soldiers.
Yeah, $250 also.
Oh, wow.
So that, but that's a retail item.
They might be a little bit less, but right around the same price range, I'd say.
I mean, it could go higher at an auction, it could go lower, you know, it all depends on the demand at the time, but I mean, it's pretty worthwhile.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank
Neat
you.
pieces.
Thank you, Joe. This wonderful lady has brought a beautiful, gorgeous, killer vase. The vase is 21 inches tall. It is 24 karat gold with the oil painting. It depicts the lions and the hunters on the opposite side searching for the lions. It was painted by Osborne and is signed by Osborne. It was done between 1894 and 1904 when Osborne worked for Picard in Antioch, Illinois. At that time, they did not have the blanks for Picard China, did not have their own factory, so they would get different blanks, which is this was before it was painted, and this blank was from Austria. The bottom of the vase, if you can tip it over, will show you that that is 24 karat gold, only exposing the name Austria. The vase is in pristine condition, almost museum quality, and we have evaluated it between $3,500 and $5,000.
Betty?
Yes.
This is a cute little picture that she brought in. These were popular in the 1920s and 1930s. A lot of people did them at home. They would take paper dolls, or they would take prints, and they would add to them. These have little frills on the dress, and the doll is the girl is holding a doll. There's buttons on the little pants. There's socks on with the shoes, and real hair for the hair. These are very popular pieces. When I get them in the shop, they sell pretty quickly.
Do you think that's human hair?
Yeah, I do. I think it's human hair.
Dog, or if they...
It could have been a sheep, maybe.
Well, I'm wondering because this one has brown hair, but the boy looks like he's got gray hair.
Well, it's so...
Well, they probably came out of grandmother's hair receiver.
Well, I'm thinking, too. Yeah, the old lady just used her hair and forgot to dye it. But
I'd value it probably about $145 to $165. And
Ken has brought us a beautiful Egyptian lamp made out of terracotta from the Northwest Terracotta Company, which we figured might have been in Mammoth, Illinois. This was probably made in the 20s when, after King Tut's tomb was found and everybody went into the Egyptian type things. Harry Carter said when he opened the tomb and they asked him what he saw, he said, "I see many wonderful things."
I see a lamp.
So the beauty of this piece is depicting on the front Cleopatra contemplating, standing by the temple, in the temple, and the other side has an owl on it. The shade is new. Ken put a new shade on it, and it's perfect because it has the same dimension as the top. This is always very desirable. Cleopatra is probably the most famous woman in the world, and people absolutely go Google for her things. I thought this lamp would probably sell for, and as Greg will tell you, it's territorial, between $1,600 and $2,000. Debbie's brought us a cedar box that was probably made in the 40s. Perhaps in Missouri or in Arkansas. The top is hand-stamped, engraved with little portraits depicting. It is mirror-lined with gold on the mirror. It originally probably held stationery and or chocolates. And this was very, very big deal in the 40s to have. It's desirable now because you can still put little goodies in it and it will smell of cedar. And I would estimate it to be $45.
Let's take time out to meet with our third antique appraiser, Greg Gall from Flowers by Gall.
Actually, I've been involved really with antiques for the first time. I purchased a piece and I was 10 years old at Maxwell Street with my sister, my older sister. And there was a piece, a little vase I had bought underneath a counter with some, I think, some nasty magazines down there, but I wasn't interested in those, obviously. I was interested in the vase, and I bought it for a dime, and years later, I think I sold it for $50.
Wow.
So, yeah, but that's when I started really, that I can recall that I was really interested in antiques, but I always was. Years ago, they had a program at RB that was called DO. We called it Dummies and Orthos, but it was actually Diversified Occupations, where you could attend school half a day and then half of the day would be spent as a work experience. And I remember at the time, I think the teacher there was McNulty. I think that was his name. And he had some openings, and I says, well, what are they? And he says, well, either a garage mechanic or a flower shop. And I said, I'll take the flower shop. And that's how I started. And I was about 15 at the time on that program, 15, 16. And then I went on to, from high school, I went on to art school, and from art school I went on to working at Museum of Science Industry for 10 years, and then opening up this store. I was an artist at the time, too, at RB, and I was really into the arts. And that was one way of being an artist and still making a living. I mean, it's not too easy for artists to go out there and make a living off their paintings or graphics or whatever they might be into. Whereas in flower design, you can be creative, still have fun, and still make money. And that's the important part. Old objects, I like the way the craftsmanship was done as compared to nowadays. There's no one thing I can pinpoint what I like about them, but that's a few of the things. I think more the craftsmanship that was done years ago as compared to now, and good quality items. And I really like things prior to the turn of the century. I mean, the last turn of the century, 1900, not 2000.
Pat, can you tell us how you acquired this Italian pierced bowl or compote with the little flowers on the top and on the handles?
About 16 years ago, my landlady gave it to me, and she was like 80 years old, and she didn't have a daughter and nobody to leave it to, so she left it to me.
Oh, that was very, very nice. This piece says on the bottom, just Italy, so that would tell you it is before 1895, when they had afterwards they had to put made in the country. The condition of this is superb, and it's very easy for it to break. It's not Capodimonte, but it is of a very fine Italian house, and I would evaluate this at between 100 and 150. It's in very, very good condition. And thank you for bringing it tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Rudy brought this in and came out of a house that you bought. And this cross would have hung on a nun's habit.
Well, off the habit they have their little beads. Those
But now
beads.
this section on the back here, this little like rose head nail, which is also shown on the front, generally means that there's a relic inside, being a piece of a bone or a piece of hair
Toenail,
or something from a saint or someone who was considered holy. Technically, according to the Catholic religion, no one should own it if they aren't a nun or a priest or that sort of thing.
Certainly not myself.
This is German silver, I believe, isn't it correct? And Kay, how old did you think it was?
This is from about 1890. It's a crucifix which the nun would wear under her gimp. It is not part of a rosary. The rosary were just usually plain wooden crosses with the figure of Christ on it. It's a very attractive piece, and it's very appropriate for Ash Wednesday. The value on this is between $75 and $125. It's in very good condition.
What was the other thing you brought?
The cards.
All 52 are here in the original case. The case is badly worn, but the cards are in excellent condition. The cards depict scenes from the Columbian Exposition, and imagine that's like 108 years old now. Anything from the different expositions are always very desirable. People just love them, and they're always in demand. I would estimate the cards to be worth about between $35 and $50.
Yeah, probably about right.
And he finally agreed with me, so thank you, Greg. Pat, what can you tell us about the pink lavender rhinestone jewelry set that you have? It's a bracelet, necklace, and earrings.
A neighbor down the street, an elderly neighbor, mother and father had owned a jewelry shop, and they were never, these were brand new when I got them, in an old box, and I just love them. I like sparklies, and I got them from her.
Did the box have the name of the jeweler?
No, because she had boxes and boxes and boxes of things, and I went home with pockets full.
This set is probably from the late 30s through the 40s. Each stone is not glued in like they do now. Each stone is stamped in with 4 prongs, and it's a beautiful alexandrite color. The metal is a base metal which has been rhodium plated. That's why it is so very shiny and very nice. The earrings were clip earrings, and Pat made them into pierced. Shame on you, Pat, but they're very, very nice.
Oh, she wears them.
Yeah, but you devalue it because you're not presenting it the way it was made. All in all, this set is probably worth about $250. It's a very attractive set in the beautiful alexandrite color. The Trifari set is from the 60s, and it's a crown. This is from their Star of India collection, which they made from 1960 to about 1965. The rhinestones are invisibly set like
Pave.
Like pave, thank you. You'd think I would know that, huh? The major stones are prong set, but the other are all individually set pave. The earrings, again, have devalued a little bit because they were made into pierced. but this set would probably be about $125.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Darlene has brought us a little perfume bottle this evening. And Darlene, how'd you acquire this piece?
I don't know. I've had it for about 15 years, but I don't really know.
Was it a sale, or did you?
No.
No?
I'm thinking when I bought this home, there was a box of junk that that was interesting.
It's interesting, but I'll tell you, first of all, it's not old at all.
No.
It's a little plastic stopper. Bad perfume. It was pretty rank and cheap at the time. This is just an inexpensive glass bottle. Looking at this, I'm going to probably guess the 1970 vintage. I mean, this is just base metal, which they folded over, smashed around the bottle to make it look a little fancier, but it was not a good perfume. There isn't anything really good about the whole thing, sorry. It's not worth a fortune. Personally, I couldn't even give it a worth value. Would you give it any?
It would be a copy of the Czechoslovakian scent bottles that were done in the 20s and the 30s, I would think. They used to have the sterling mounts and the cabochon carnelian tops. It's probably a gift store item, and since I sell gifts in the shop, I guess I could probably give you a value probably around maybe $10.
Holy cow, $10. See, it's
More than I paid. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Backstage Antiques. We hope you enjoyed the antique appraisals on today's show. I'm Melissa Manzuelo, and we'll see you next time.
The preceding program sponsored in part by Choo Choo Cafe.